what do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube, presented as always by Pure Options Craft Cannabis. Pure Options has some amazing March Madness deals still going on into April, including a drawing to win $1,000 in store. Swing by any Pure Options location in Lansing, Muskegon, Mount Pleasant, Detroit. Go to pureoptions.com for location information, or just download the app today. I can have it right at your fingertips. Join the Pure Perks loyalty program. If you've got anxiety about the transfer portal, about Tre Holloman, about anything like that, Pure Options is here for you. Again, pureoptions.com. And our Tuesday afternoon show, presented by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels, which just today, with yours truly as a model, introduced their new Muskox swimwear line. Yes, the world's first flannel made for the beach, made with patented tropical thermoregulation, saltwater tested, SPF approved. Anyway, you can check out I tweeted it out from the show account, the new Muskox.
Of course you did.
Swimwear model, swimwear line with me as a model, and you can just see the difference in how I look with a Muskox and how I look how I look without it. You can be that. You can have that contrast in your appearance as well. It may have something to do with April Fool's Day. If it does, I would also still urge you to go to gomuskox.com, where Couch and the Rube listeners can get $15 off a flannel purchase with the promo code FIXITANDPOST. Again, gomuskox.com. This is flannel season. You get to April, we're starting to get like backyard fire pits and all that stuff. You want to be comfortable. You want to look your best. Gomuskox.com. Jason, how you doing, brother?
Caw. Peacock.
Hey, man. How's it going?
A lot going on.
Yeah.
So
I wanted to announce today, like the beginning of the show, but hey, this is my last Couch and the Rube episode.
Little fools, April Fools. Yeah.
And then be like, I mean, that's what everybody's doing today. April Fool's Day is complete ass.
It sucks.
I mean, Trey Hollman thing aside, Hunter Dickinson, the thing that made me laugh this morning because I was on the toilet at 7:30 this morning. Hunter Dickinson getting a 7th year, that made me laugh. Tiger Woods and his April Fool's bullshit, that was just the lamest thing ever. It was like, can we stop with the April Fools? Like, I'm not even saying the Tre Holloman thing was April, but it's just the fact that it is April Fool's Day. And then I'm sitting there, like, I know On3 Sports is the one that reported, I think, first. And I'm like, okay, they're a reputable site. I'm not saying that they're bullshit, but I'm just, the fact that it's April Fool's, and then you have to read that, like, I have no idea, like, what's going on. Graham Couch is giving me the player-by-player report coming back for next year. Tre Holloman would run through a brick wall for this team. There's no way he's leaving. You know what I mean? Can we get rid of the fucking April Fools? I'm so sick of it, man. So it's not funny anymore. It's not, I mean, there's a rare one that's good, but like,
two things.
Muskox one's good.
The Muskox one's great.
Yeah.
Two things need to happen. Is April Fools needs to tamp down. You gotta, if you don't have the right sense of humor, you can't partake. And so there should be like a
what kind of sense of humor do you need? Like, I have a good one, I think.
You do. You're good at it, but there should be an approval process, and not and I don't mean like an official approval process, but if you're going to do a public April Fool's joke, everybody should have some friends and family in their life that know if things are funny that they say, and just test it. Just test it. Does it work? So
Tiger's out because he's got everybody. It's just yes men around him.
Yes, right. You got to have people who actually tell you. You're not.
I was in a hyperbaric chamber for the past 2 weeks, sleeping in it maybe helps. So I'll see you guys at the Masters. Like, I mean, like, dude, for what? I'd be like, Tiger, don't do that. Like, it's not even. And then like 5 minutes later, he's like, by the way, that's the April Fool's joke. And it actually fooled. Like, there was some morning show, I don't know, business show that they actually reported Tiger's going to be playing the Masters. Just blow those people out. Like, if you fall for that shit, I would never watch your program.
Well, the other reason to delay the transfer portal until after the Final Four is it gets it out of the April Fool's window. Like, even if you want to open it a week ago like they did, it should be closed on April Fool's.
Yes.
Things that are, nothing should be, maybe even banks aren't open. I don't know. But if we're gonna partake in this, then the things that are actually important can't be open, so they can't be part of the joke.
Make it a national holiday.
Yeah.
Everybody has it off. We just don't do anything.
Yeah, you can't.
Come on.
Can't be in the portal. You can't do anything. Okay, so obviously the show changed a little bit this morning. I was up till peel back the curtain, the green curtain, as people might say, the blue.
Yeah.
I was up till about 4 a.m. last night writing an analysis of Michigan State's men's basketball roster moving forward.
I enjoyed it.
Tunk you.
Yeah.
And so I woke
Great
up.
coverage the past couple of days, man.
Appreciate
Great
you.
work. Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Except for texting your buddy here who does the show with you. Say when you're going to be in town.
I thought we were agreed. I thought we were good. I didn't realize you didn't know we were doing a Monday night show.
It was 7:30. I'm like, I don't know. Did this flight get delayed or something? What's going on here?
Yeah. Anyway.
I'm glad that we waited so we could have this Tre Holloman stuff.
It's good and bad. Yeah, we would have had the show last night, but it would have had a very, very short shelf life. Because I wake up today 11:30. I'm catching up on sleep, feeling good, turn over, and I see the Tre Holloman news. My first thought is, thank God it's April Fool's, because this is bullshit. I went back to sleep for like 10 minutes.
Right.
And then I start looking who's reporting it, and then I'm getting texts. So, it's real.
Then it becomes real, yeah.
Yeah, I get it confirmed. I mean, I don't even think the coaches saw this coming. And, the thing about it is, and I did write in that piece that, like, there's no player I think would run through a wall for the program or push over a Wolverine or whatever for the program more than Tre Holloman. And I still believe that. What I also believe to be true is we're in a time for college basketball where with the revenue sharing coming on July 1st or potentially coming on July 1st, there is like a 3-month window right now where players are able to maximize their worth beyond maybe anything they'll be able to for a while. And maybe next year there'll be all sorts of workarounds and it'll be there. But so this is going to be a wild few months. With Tre Holloman specifically, you're looking at a guy who probably understands he's not likely to be an NBA draft pick. He's got 1 year left to maximize himself, and he wants to test the market value of him. And so that sense of it, I don't blame the kid for that. I think it's Tre Holloman who seemed like the soul of this Michigan State basketball team is why it's surprising. It is still surprising to me. Like, I can understand it and be very surprised. I am surprised because I did not think he would go. Now, I look back at our conversations in the last week or so, and they were sentimental, which is interesting now. Like, I think about it, like, we had a couple, like, sentimental moments. Like, he talked about enjoying our conversations. And in hindsight, now I'm thinking...
So he was lying to you?
No, now I'm thinking, wait a sec, did he know this was the end of our conversations instead of, like, another year of these things? I don't know.
There's no way that he could have known that he's testing the waters or knowing that you're gone are two separate mindsets. 100%. I feel right.
I don't know that he's gone. I don't know that MSU thinks he's gone. I mean, obviously, this will put this tests what MSU wants to do with players who do enter the portal. And I don't think it's one size fits all. You can say to some guys, you enter the portal, we're moving on without you. You can say to some guys, you've done enough for this program, you're worth having back. If you test it, we've got a spot for you. And I think MSU would have a spot for Tre Holloman. And because I think he's too important.
I thought that was a given, though.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we talk about testing the waters, but I'm going like, well, what are we not offering Tre Holloman currently to where he would have to go test the waters? Like, what do we need to do here as a fan base, the collective? Do we need to get together, keep Tre here and throw $20 in and start? I mean, like, what money we need as a fan base, I think, to know numbers. Tell me what we need to do to keep some of these guys here at least.
Here's what exists in college sports that does not exist really anywhere else in professional sports is you will get other organizations or programs in this case who will come in and, like, I think Xavier Booker will get big offers from other people. From some.
Big.
Well,
tell me numbers.
I think he'll at least get what he was getting at MSU previously offers. And I don't think MSU will probably give that to him again because he wasn't even playing in the NCAA tournament. You know what I mean? So, like, the thing is, the market is weird. The market is screwy. It is hard to know, like, market value in college athletics, especially college basketball, works differently than any other sport. In the NBA, they don't ever pay guys more. I mean, there's a salary cap, but also they don't pay guys more than the franchise is worth. And the college, with the collectives and everything, with the amount of revenue these teams actually bring in, men's basketball, not football. Football is separate. Like, men's basketball is going to have a real, I think, reckoning here in this sense. They don't bring that much money in. They are not football. They are a sliver of what football brings in. And so when you think about, if you're going to pay a guy $2-3 million, if you're going to have a $7-8 million roster, say you want to do that in a given year, you're starting to get up against how much actual profit you're making anyway. Like you wouldn't do what they do in any other sport. They wouldn't do that in professional soccer, which is in some ways similar in terms of the passion and the closest professional sport to what college athletics has been, or has become, I should say. So you're going to get off. Like, I think Tre Holloman, somebody could see his value, think, boy, there's a guy we can use as a headliner in our backcourt. We'll give you this. And MSU's also got to think, we've got maybe Jace Richardson to pay. We've got to pay Cohen Carr. Got to pay Jackson Kohler. There's a lot of guys to pay. And how much money and how you're willing to circumvent the rev share before it clicks in on January 1st will matter. So not everybody's working with the same finances and the same rules right now, in the sense that I think some programs will go after players before the rev share and try and lock up the roster one last time on massive deals that circumvent the system that's coming. And other programs will say, no, this is what's now, and this is what we're going to do mostly, and this is what we've allocated for men's basketball, and this is what they're going to get. I don't know where MSU is going to fall entirely in this, and I don't know that Tre Holloman's going to leave. That doesn't mean like he's just because he's putting his name in the portal, right? Like he's automatically gone. Does that change people's perspective of Tre Holloman? Like, if wow, he put his name in, is that offensive? We have to maybe get over that as a fan base. Well, the challenge with Holloman, so the challenge with everything that's happening in college athletics right now is the loyalty that fans used to feel from players, the common bond. And some of that loyalty was fool's gold with some kids anyway, but there was some legitimate loyalty with some. And there was this commonality that they had chosen the school you chose or whatever. They loved the place you loved. And so that's what creates college sports. Without that, college sports does not flourish. And that's why I think college sports is threatened by sort of the modern portal and NIL era, just because if fans can't relate, if fans stop loving this, it doesn't work. The money's not there eventually. But to the Tre Holloman point, he was that guy who I think connected with fans. Like when you push two Michigan players at center court so your senior brethren can kiss the logo, you are falling into fans' hearts like maybe nobody before in certain ways.
I'm not talking about Michigan.
And so then when you test the waters, I think it's jarring to people. Now, what we have to understand is every player is a free agent every year. And in pro sports, if you are a free agent, you can test the waters. You can test the market. And that's just where we are. His contract with Michigan State is up. He's testing the market with 1 year left to see what he's worth. Maybe he'll leave. Maybe he won't. I don't think, I wrote in the tweet, I don't think he took this lightly, because I don't. I think he does. I think he genuinely loved his teammates. I think he genuinely loves MSU. I think he genuinely would run through a brick wall for that place. But at some point, it's just business. I took the Lansing State Journal job, and I love it. This was a bucket list job, right? But initially, I turned it down because I wasn't thrilled with the initial offer. And the guy who was making the offer and negotiating with me eventually became my tennis partner, eventually officiated my wedding. And I remember him saying to me, no worries, it's just business. Like, that's what this is.
That's kind of crazy, though. It's your bucket list job, and you were like, yeah. Like, that must have been a hell of a low ball offer for you, man.
It just wasn't what I.
But I'm just saying. But if you hear that's like my bucket list job, most people would go, "I don't care what it pays, I will take it." You put your wraparound Oakleys on, you were like, no.
Put my Kangol hat on, my Lansing Sexton Spartan or varsity jacket.
But I just think it's the fact that it's Tre Holloman. It's the guy that everybody has loved because of the shove thing, and the senior, the possibility of him coming back, to him being the first to announce it. Like if Gehrig Norman came out first today and said, yeah, I'm out of here, I don't know if that would even take the sting off of it. I just think that him being the first one to announce it, like you said, the attachment fans have to him, it's just
Well, I think there's another thing here, that this leads into the idea that it could all crumble. That if Tre Holloman can leave, everybody can leave. And this is that's sort of the fear, right? It's like if
ripping the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, you think if there's one guy sort of holding the Jenga pieces together here, it's Tre Holloman, right? If he's going to be there, so we'll see who else is there. And then when he leaves, it's like, well, wait a sec. what is a guy like Cohen Carr thinking? What is his market value? What is a guy, and so I think that is what is, and he's a guy who I think is really important in next season.
I'm thinking about bigger picture though, Graham. Like, why is this guy having to make this kind of decision? Whereas if he wants to be here and we have the money to pay him, that's, again, like I said earlier, it's just like I just want to know the numbers. I want to know if we're going to let's be transparent.
Let me just throw out estimates, and these are not okay. Nobody should report this, or this is what I've said is what Tre Holloman's making, or other guys are making. But let's say this, for example. Let's say Tre Holloman last year was making, $300,000. Okay, and let's say next year at MSU as a senior, he might be able to get, who knows if they've had that conversation already. He could get, $500,000-$600,000. But somebody out there is like, we'll give you $1.5 million.
Then you got to go,
right?
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. And if you're Michigan State, you can't pay Tre Holloman $1.5 million.
No.
So that's what I'm saying. He is testing the waters. He's seeing what's out there. And maybe he's had a conversation with somebody. Maybe he already knows where he's going.
Is that feasible, though? $1.5 million for Tre Holloman? Like, that's no offense to Tre Holloman, but I'm just, are those numbers realistic? I understand there was the kid from Kansas State that got $2 million, but he's a big guy. If that number is realistic, where some of these teams can do it, then yeah, you have to tell them I can't offer you 1.5. Well, but it just seems like that number is kind of outrageous.
Well, people need to understand about the rev share situation. So if you're a program that plays major, if you're a school that plays major college football, and you are having a cap of the rev share at like $20.5 million, right? 21, I think it's 20.5, and you're going to give minimum $15 million of that to football because that's what's created the rev share. The whole reason the rev share exists. And then you've got for all your other sports, including men's basketball, you've got a pool. At most, I think men's basketball is going to see like $4 million of any of the rev share. At most. And this is even in basketball schools. Because even at a basketball school, football funds everything. At Kentucky, football pays for everything. At Illinois, football pays for everything. You know why Indiana's investing in football? They understand that is what pays for everything. That's what really matters, right? So maybe, I don't think that, but maybe you get to $4 million. To divide up in a roster, maybe you have smaller rosters because of this, because more guys need more. But say you have a roster of 10 at $4 million, and you can do the average is what, $400,000 there, right? So and again, that's good money. But if some of these guys are, you're looking at what they're saying people are asking for right now, $2.5-3 million for the top guys. That's not going to exist in a rev share world. Now there will be people who work around it if this rev share goes through, by the way, which it may or may not in the next week. But if it does, and that's what people are planning for. And there's going to be a clearinghouse for other NIL deals, which makes things stickier. And I don't know what sort of enforcement there will be. And maybe there will just be rev share and then this completely Wild West outside NIL deal, and that will rule the day, and this won't matter. I also think, though, a lot of places, major donors have sort of been told, get us to the rev share. These billionaires or major millionaires, other places, they don't want to keep funding this everywhere. They've been told this rev share is coming, get us there, and then we're good. So after July 1, after this coming season, maybe in some cases, they're supposed to be able to not keep financing something with zero return on investment.
Sure.
And so that is the other thing. I mean, this is not really, this is where the model isn't sustainable. But perhaps for one last year, some guys are going to get sort of overpaid here, or at least able to get a bigger deal than you would otherwise.
I would think that the billionaires also see that their legendary Hall of Fame 70-year-old coach doesn't have, many 5-year plans left, and I understand you don't want to keep dumping money into something you're not getting a return on, but I would think that you would want to donate so you could see your Hall of Fame coach get his second daddy is all.
And they may be able to keep him, and he may have a number that says, well, that's fine. It's not the most, but I really want to be at MSU. Tre Holloman, a guy who's not going to play in the NBA, who's going to go overseas, and Tre Holloman's a guy overseas who's probably going to make $100K starting out. It would take a while.
It's a hell of a pay cut from $500K.
Exactly. This is a big opportunity in terms of his last year of really having a chance to capitalize on who he is as an athlete to make the most money. He may not make. It may take him a whole career overseas to make much more than what he could make in the next year. Now maybe he'll do well over there, and some guys do make a lot of money over there, but it's not a guarantee.
But you did mention the figure 1.5. That's just a guess by you. But where do you? Obviously, you go. We can't pay that. But would you pay him $1 million for a senior leader to come back like that? A guy that is a focal point of your team, a senior leadership guy.
If you have it, I'd consider it. Now,
Right.
now the thing is, you got it. Now, you're also looking at. I mean, let's take somebody like Jackson Kohler, who just put up 17 points
Right.
in an NCAA tournament game, had 11 rebounds, hit 3 threes, and you love the possibilities for him. You think there aren't other people? You don't think there are people look at a big guy like him and watch that last NCAA tournament game and think we'd like that guy, and so you got to pay that guy too.
Yep.
If Jace Richardson comes back, you got to pay that guy for sure. And then if Jace Richardson doesn't come back, you need to figure out how to pay somebody else to come in. And Cohen Carr, who, obviously everybody just saw electrifying.
At least $2 million right there.
Electrifying. This gets expensive quickly. More than is going to be available in the rev share. More than probably they were paying these guys right now. And keep in mind, this is not a sport that pays. It pays for itself. It usually funds like one other sport, like women's basketball. But it is not the revenue sport that football is. It is not driving athletics. If men's basketball went away tomorrow, athletics would be fine as long as they had football in college athletics. If football went away, the whole thing's gone. And so it's a really, it's a tricky situation. But with Tre Holloman, I would still put it, and I have not spoken to him. I have not heard from anybody in his family yet. His agent confirmed it. MSU has confirmed that he's going. I know just from dabbling around, staff-wise, that I think they were surprised by this. I don't think they knew this was coming. But I also would, if you had to take, I have no reason to think he's not just testing his market value.
I'd almost say 60-40, just because I just don't know if there's going to be these $1.5 or $1 million offers.
That he's gone?
Yeah.
Or
another university would offer him $1 million to 1.5. I just don't see that. And I think Michigan State could, if it's under that, maybe possibly they could, I don't know, to match it. But there's so much money and so many crazy things that I obviously have no idea about. But I just think that for transparency, to know what it's going to take to get some of these guys back here would be helpful, because I'm down to donate. What do we need to do?
Well, and the system,
get some of these things going.
This is why the system doesn't work, though. If this whole thing crumbles, people stop caring. Yep. Right? I'm going to tell you right now. And this is why, and granted, these players are getting what they can while they can, but the players 20 years from now won't get shit. Because I'm telling you right now, if Tre Holloman, Cohen Carr, Jace Richardson, and Jackson Kohler all left tomorrow, and even if they replaced them with 4 interesting good players, there would not be the connection to the sport. And I'm telling you, they would not even – I don't know that they'd sell out Breslin next year. I don't. I really don't. I think people would be intrigued by the team, but they would not feel as connected. They may sell it out, but the secondary market that's hard to get a lower bowl seat be a lot easier to get a lower bowl seat. People would feel a lot less connected. They'd feel like there wasn't anything being built. And you just had a situation where you had this team that was completely beloved. Yes, they did not get to a Final Four. They were not the best team he's ever had, but they sort of restored faith in what Tom Izzo was doing. They re-energized the program, reinvigorated the coach, as he said. You had this amazing season that people felt connected and loved this team, and I think loved this team as much as some teams that made a Final Four. And so there's all these good vibes going. And you can lose that quickly. And part of the good vibes also are like these guys looked like they cared. They cared about MSU. They cared about winning. But also, having said that, this is a business to them. And the rules allow it to be a business right now. And it should be a business to some degree. Now, there should be contracts. We should have a much greater understanding of how coaches are going to build a roster and what a roster can look like year for year. All this is not sustainable. It really isn't. But, I think there's a real danger if MSU has not dealt with what Illinois just dealt with. But if you can't build something year to year, if one year means nothing to the next, then losing in the Elite Eight isn't enough. Part of the reason losing in the Elite Eight felt like, boy, that was amazing and disappointment, but they were just beaten by the better team, is a lot of these guys were coming back, and maybe they won't get there again. Maybe they won't be as good. But it felt like there was still something carrying over to the next. Everything's a one-shot deal with mostly a new roster. Then, you got it. And
what does that do to Izzo?
It's all or nothing. Well, I think, if that sort of thing started to happen. Now, again, this is Tre Holloman leaving.
Yeah.
And
it's not a good start, though.
No, from a basketball standpoint, it's one guy who may or may not leave, who, from a basketball standpoint, for everything he gives, and I think he gives a lot. And again, he was part of the soul of the team. Is a replaceable basketball player. He's not. This isn't. this Jace Richardson, much harder basketball player to replace than Tre Holloman, right? I mean, you can get a guy in the portal, but if you're going to get Tre Holloman in the portal, you might as well try and keep Tre Holloman. Now, I don't know what deal is out there for him. I don't know if there is one. I don't know if he's just testing it. I haven't had that conversation with him. I've had many conversations with Tre Hollman, and that's why this surprises me a little bit.
It just the quote you mentioned from Izzo restored my faith in humanity. It was from Brendan Quinn's column. The Athletic was really good, and it just said that team's so likable. It restored his faith in humanity. I think it did for some of the fans too. Of like, okay, maybe I can still be attached to this college sport thing. And it just sucks when you see a guy like Trey, put his name in the portal. I just think that what can that do to Izzo in the future too? If guys start like Tre Holloman, then Jace goes, then Jackson Cole, who knows what another guy leaves, right? And then Izzo's going to be like, now I got to replace these guys. I mean, this was supposed to be my way or the highway, and now it's like I don't know what to do. So everything's just ass right now. April Fool's is ass. The transfer portal, ass.
Yeah, it's not.
He's a bull in a china closet.
It's not fun. I get why it's not fun. And, this is what we've been talking about. This is the way it can go. It just hadn't yet at MSU. And MSU had been holding on to something that really hadn't it hit so many other programs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Maryland's going to rebuild its roster this year. Illinois had a whole new roster this year.
Oh, by the way, Buzz Williams, new head coach of Maryland Terrapins.
There you go.
Now we know that the April Fool's is over with the Buzz Williams. Everybody believes that.
Yes. Before we keep going with our takes, and
you got something else? I mean, what else?
No. Well, yeah. I do want to get into the most entertaining thing that I saw this past week, presented by our friends at Xfinity Comcast. I think, and I know everybody's feeling the way they are right now, but I don't know that I have been more entertained by a basketball team overall than Michigan State. Now the question will be for people, can people still enjoy what they just saw? Can they still feel a certain way if the team starts to splinter apart and break apart now? But that Ole Miss game is, I think, in terms of just being entertained watching a game, the Sweet 16 win, top 7 or 8 I've ever covered. A team figuring it out, the way that happened late, just sort of the toughness it took. And, yeah, there have been better games of basketball I've seen. But in terms of entertaining competition, I think that game in the Sweet 16 was absolutely up there. And one of my favorite things, by the way, about Xfinity and Comcast is when I get back to the hotel room and I'm on the road, I love their mobile DVR. Like my ability to watch the game, scroll through, is better than any other platform.
I thought you were about to say Hallmark movies.
No. It is absolutely fantastic. If you're on the road and you've got Xfinity, it's one of the great ways to tape a game. I can just pull up the program guide, make sure the game's being taped, make sure my favorite Hallmark movie's being taped. Boom, or not taped, but recorded. Yeah. Get back, watch it, scroll through really, really easily. You can also elevate March Madness with the Xfinity Multi-View. You simply say March Madness or Multi-View into your voice remote and see the multi-view options available. Once the multi-view experience, customers can toggle between channels to switch audio and select any game to jump into full screen mode. That's with Xfinity and Comcast, and that is the most entertaining thing I saw this last week.
Speaking of cable, real quickly, on Sunday, because we had the weather warnings back here, I know that you were not in the area, but my God, I'm just saying, Channel 6, they rectified it, but during the Tennessee-Kentucky game, they had the weather bug over the score and the time, for a majority of the first half. It's like, what is going on? Like, you guys know that there's a severe weather alert coming up here, and you have to put up all these bugs. You don't look at the screen and go like, maybe we shouldn't put it right there, or is it someone that doesn't know sports or something? But my God, these weather alerts, the way that we're updated, we had 4 sirens in Ovid to let us know that there was a possibility of a tornado. I had my watch that was exploding. My watch exploded, literally. And then all of a sudden the TV is doing the dial-up internet thing from 1999. It's like, I get it. But there was tornadoes touching down in the area. We want to keep people safe. But by God, do we have to reform and redo this, for the future here. It's kind of ridiculous.
We should talk to Eastlick about this because they take a lot of abuse, and I think they had a split screen at least. Some places didn't have split screens and lost the game entirely.
Yeah.
And one of the things I always say, that if you're a meteorologist, I understand that this is required that you do.
Your Super Bowl.
Well, but
I get it.
don't behave. Yeah, right. Don't behave like it's your Super Bowl. Don't come in like this is your moment. Understand nobody wants to see you. There's a massive game on right then.
I've worked in local TV. Never does a weather guy go in and go, I need to be on air, damn it, right now. I mean, some weather guys do. But I'm saying guys like Eastlick aren't sitting there like, we're going over this game. Make sure you put the game in the small part of the court. So don't get mad at the weather guy. It's more of the sales / front office people. You know?
But if this is truly a public service, there does need to be a better way. I mean, if it's a public service, okay? If it's a public service,
why are we still doing it that way?
Then what I'm saying is you come in briefly, you go with something constantly atop the screen, which I get, and then you know what, you cut out the commercials. This is a public service.
Yeah.
If this is more important than anything else, you come in for every commercial break, you go back for the game. A public service. Remember, we're not talking about money and advertising and all that. It is a public service. The commercials are what is gone. That is your full screen moment. You go back at the top of the screen when the game comes on because this is a public service. That would be my advice for weather.
Get
folks.
it together, National Weather Service.
Yeah,
stop it with a dial-up, and then it's the guy with the creepy voice of like, the tornadoes and this touchdown in the area. It's like, why are you whispering? What? Like, I'm sitting there I'm like got 100 MGs running through me. The friggin', Michigan State can't cut it to 8 to save their lives, and I got this guy. It's like, my God, what a stressful time.
It is.
We barely got anything out in Ovid. It's like, what the hell? That alarm went out in Ovid, which is probably like 100 feet from our house. That thing is, I was like, all right, we got it. All right. Yeah. 20 minutes later, it's like, my God. Anyway.
So I had takes on the game,
Fuck the game.
I had takes on, I mean, yeah. The
game was ass. Auburn's ass.
Yeah, and
give me Florida all day.
Single elimination hockey and all that stuff. Yeah, they
Bruin with his busted shoulder, or his elbow.
Let's because I do think we can get into a lot of these through the listener takes. We're not going to get to all of them today. I hate to tell you, we got like
I'll read fast. Then.
No, we don't do it. But we're just not because two things have happened. One, some of these are still very relevant. We got rid of some of them that I think when the tone changed with the Holloman news. But we also have a hard out today, so at a certain point and. Got delayed starting, but just because of the Holloman news. So we'll get as many as we can. Forgive us for the others, and we want to continue this conversation. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it. Eric Schultz up first. Number 1, this group did everything that was asked of them. Great season. 2, got to get bigger at basically every position if Izzo's going to get his second. And 3, assuming Jace leaves, MSU will be mediocre next year unless they get a real scorer with some size out of the portal. And bonus. State doesn't win, but it's a completely different game if Izzo burns the timeout at 16-8 instead of 23-8.
So I started seeing this. At the time it was happening, I didn't register to me exactly that it had gone to like a 17-0 run, right? It didn't. It felt like a long run, but I didn't realize quite how big it had happened. And then I start hearing from people, and I went back on my Xfinity mobile app and watched how that unfolded, right, to get a sense of where. And I do think this is one of the things that probably is something that isn't a strength of Izzo's, because we saw it going back to the Middle Tennessee State game. He sometimes lets them figure it out too long. And I don't know that a timeout changes that, but it does give a chance to quell the momentum, right? And just take a breath, take a beat for a minute. And so it probably was a couple possessions, 3 possessions too late that the timeout came in. I just, when I watched that game, never at any point did I think MSU was going to win. And it's been a long time since I thought that. I think maybe the Memphis game, the way Memphis was playing them early and before this Michigan State team, before it became this who they are. But that's the last time, and it just felt like
they would cut it to 9, but then they wouldn't get like a 50-50 ball, and then Auburn would get a 3. Yeah, it just never felt like it was going to get close.
And one of the best things about
still covered though 6.5.
One of my favorite things about the way the NCAA tournament puts you right courtside is. You really get a sense when you're sitting down there of the length and size difference and just what they're up against in terms of a matchup. And you could see early on, like the 3-pointers, they missed some threes and there were some rushed, but they took some over some long arms that were extended at them. Every time those guys drove to the lane, they were aware that, I mean, it wasn't just the shots that were blocked. They were aware that there were these towering rim protectors in there, and it was a problem. And so Michigan State does need, I think when you look at some of the guys they have coming in, like Cam Ward, the 6'8", wing four-man, you look at Jordan Scott, the freshman who's 6'7" shooter, like those type of guys, that's the size you need to be at with wings and stuff. That you need to get bigger. They've been smaller on the wing. That's why they brought in Frankie Fiddler, right? It's why they brought in Zapala inside. They did get bigger this year. They were able to compete. They got to an Elite Eight. They weren't blown. Their doors weren't blown out by Auburn, which was the best team for a lot of this college basketball season and played really well in places and has a phenomenal player. So they were able to hang right in there. They're just not quite there. There is another level. And sometimes, you get back to not every, like this is almost a historic Final Four in terms of talent. Now, maybe in today's college basketball with NIL, and you'll have more veteran teams all the time, and there will be great Final Fours constantly. But this is not every Final Four. Usually, though, there's at least one or two of these teams. And so if you want to win a national championship, you're not usually going to have to beat all four of these guys, but you're going to have to beat one or two. And to do that, you're going to have to, and maybe that Jace Richardson sophomore year with everybody else returning and would be enough. Sometimes that sort of growth within and sweat equity is enough. I mean, if you had a veteran team that hit 4 or 5 more shots and knew how to deal with the length, even if it didn't have it, maybe that's enough. But after,
it took away a little of the sadness after the loss on Sunday was, okay, even if they came back and beat Auburn, they're not going to beat Florida or Duke to win a natty. I mean, right? You just need more guys.
There's just too much. There's too much there right now.
Right.
Yeah,
even if they made a miraculous comeback, and because I saw you guys in your previews, like, well, they must play their A game, A- game, and we need Auburn to play their B-. I'm like, okay, so that they get past that, then against Florida, then what? And then if they get to Duke, then what? Dominic, number 1, fuck single elimination hockey. 2, sports is nothing but endless fucking pain. Lovely distraction from the pain of life. Death of relatives, death of dogs, dating hookers, etc. And bonus, I'm just fucking sad, man. MSU hockey bowed out immediately. Basketball was right on the cusp. Tigers literally wouldn't even sign Freeberg to help the Bats. I dated a streetwalker unbeknownst to me. Fuck this couch.
So the single elimination hockey, and obviously that was after the last time we did a show too. Michigan State hockey losing to Cornell in the.
That was brutal.
Yeah,
and I had that on ESPN Plus.
So
what happened?
I have 2 thoughts here. One is obviously I hate single elimination postseason hockey. Number 2 though is, and they dominated the first 2 periods, but that third period they couldn't get control of it. They were, I don't want to say playing with their food a little bit, but they had a one goal lead, and they're tied. They just didn't. They didn't own that period. It wasn't like they deserved that period. They were the better team, no question overall. But they've got to work on that, like that in that moment. Now that said, though, this is why it should be 2 out of 3 and on campus sites or whatever. If that happened 2 straight games, then so be it. Or 2 out of 3, you got beat. That team's better. That's the way playoffs work. But when it's one period after that season that started like October 1st and ends after the Final Four when school's almost out, it's pretty much the whole school year. It's the longest season of any, and then. Minnesota lost. There are other, good. You're just not getting the best teams moving forward, it's a thrilling tournament, but it's not representative of the sport. Like college basketball may have upsets, but it's representative of the best teams in the sport and all that stuff, right? So that to me I cannot stand.
Is there talks at all about changing the format of that tournament?
There's just no money in it, and they don't want to do it. They don't care. But I think we also have to start covering it differently. Like to me, if the NCAA tournament is going to be this one-off that's not reflective of the season all the time, then let's cover the season like it's the big thing. It's almost like the Premier League, Champions League. I mean, that can still be a big thing, but it's its own thing. The regular season, you win the Big Ten, that's what we cover bigger. That's what we celebrate. Maybe we go on the road to cover this NCAA tournament thing. It's still pretty big, but it's different. I think we have to reshape what is an accomplishment in hockey. Because what MSU did in the regular season in the Big Ten was greater than what will happen to the team that wins the NCAA tournament. Like that's a harder thing to do. And I think this goes back to 2007. What Michigan State did, and I know those guys have taken grief over the years, they won an NCAA championship. Nobody thought that team was the best team in the country, right? And Michigan, and great teams lose from time to time. And I think the Frozen Four can remain single elimination once you get there. But you play that long a season. It's not like it'd be one thing if it was television dictating this. But this game was on ESPN Plus. It's not like, well, we got this spot on ESPN and we want to showcase the sport, so we're doing single elimination. That would be at least understandable, right? There is no rational reason for this. They take a week off before the Frozen Four for the Final Four. Mostly separate audiences. You're not on TV anyway. More people are more interested in there's more basketball you're up against during the regionals than you are the Final Four anyway. Like, it just makes zero sense. Play both those weekends, or don't have a 6-week conference tournament that starts with single or double elimination anyway. Like, there are lots of ways to do this and fix it, and they don't. And it's going to alter. I mean, I haven't sat down with Nightingale or anything yet, but to me, it alters the way I think about it. And I've, I stopped. I used to like college hockey as a kid, and I remember in '98 when something like this happened, I didn't watch it for 10 more years. I just didn't care because it just took. I don't know. What was the point? What was the point of the season? What was the point of the tournament? Like, I'm sorry, if you're gonna start October 1st with something like this, you cannot have a single elimination in Toledo, Ohio, on ESPN Plus.
That's what I mean. You said it doesn't make any money, but why not put it together to where it's a possibility where it could make money, to where it's interesting?
Yeah,
the single elimination stuff. Tyler next. The kids deserve money on an open market, and why not try to make some money? But the portal will also be the reason that they'll eventually be worth less and less as interest and continuity wane.
Yeah, I mean, this is the danger, and this is, again, you're going to see people out there right now talking about free market and everybody cares and look at the ratings. I'm talking about over time. There is a danger in it. There is a danger in it. Now, I think people love college sports. People want to love college sports. And it's not too late. People can get a handle on this. And there have been things that have countered it, like the new college football playoff. While you have one area of college sports that's less enjoyable to follow and it's harder to build and not everybody loves, you have another thing that's like, well, that's really cool. And it also, the portal allows somebody like Indiana all of a sudden to get good really fast. There are pluses and minuses. The overall system is not sustainable, though, and so it's got to be fixed.
Austin Wolf, what are the chances we get gutted by the portal and Izzo hangs it up?
I mean, I wouldn't say 0%. I mean, Tre Holloman just entered the transfer portal, and so do I
say 30%?
Do I think a lot of other guys are going to follow him out the door? I don't, and I don't know that he's even out the door. I mean, keep in mind, A.J. Hogard had already transferred to Vanderbilt and kept practicing and working out at MSU like into June last year until he had to go.
But that was an easier decision with the coaching staff.
What I'm saying is even Hogard felt connected to MSU. I think Holloman feels connected to MSU.
Yeah, Hogard came back and watched the Ole Miss game, right?
Yeah,
his parents were there. I mean, yeah,
it's not
like saying Tre Holloman is giving his middle finger to Michigan State, right? I get it. This is really I think it's more of the shock value to us fans that are older people that are kind of like, man, is college sports going to be ruined forever?
And I think that's it. Like, if you put yourself in Tre Holloman's shoes, I mean, just do it for a minute. Like the idea that, okay.
I think I'd wait till after April 1st, though.
April 1st should be a day that it's off limits. It should be an absolute day off. Have you ever been really gotten by an April Fool's joke?
No.
Yeah.
No. Never, ever. I mean, back in the day when, you got a flat tire or something, but there are none that are funny. I mean, yeah, like, I have ass cancer. Oh, my God, what? Oh, but wait, hold on, let me play this thing. Just joking. Oh. It's like, no. None that were ever funny. G.E. Miller, Izzo will use this year as justification to not add top-level portal guys, but the 4 number 1 seeds all added top-level portal guys. Zapawa started the year well, but faded once scouted. Our guards and 5s were too short versus Auburn and didn't show up. Elite 8 isn't the goal. You need dudes. And bonus, we hadn't seen it all year from MSU, but everyone minus Kohler and Fiddler played scared or didn't handle the pressure. So many missed layups and open threes that did not look like themselves. Sorry, Tom, but you can't wait until the run hits 17-0 to call that timeout to settle guys down.
On the portal thing, now a lot of Auburn's guys were experienced guys who were back. Like that was and they had a great freshman too there. I mean, that was, but there's no doubt that they looked the part differently than Michigan State. And so that is something as you're
What do you
building
mean
a
by
roster.
that? What do you mean? Just more relaxed, or
No, I'm talking about physically, just more imposing. And so that is something you know as you're building a program. Now, Michigan State won a title in 2000 with a 6'8" center in Andre Hudson and a 6'9" stretch 4 in AJ Granger. They were not the biggest team, right? And on the wing, you had a 6'6" guard and Morris Peterson. You had a 6'3" guard and Charlie Bell, and a 6'2" guard and Mateen Cleaves. You don't have to be the biggest team, but that team was tough as hell. They knew how to rebound it, and they knew how to handle those lineups, and that's what you have to get to. You don't have to be bigger than everybody, but you got to be able to handle that. And this team wasn't quite there yet. They didn't quite have the guys to do that.
are you saying Auburn had more swag?
No, they had better players and more confidence. They had more.
That's swag.
Yeah, well, and
Confidence.
Michigan State didn't have, I just don't think they had faced a lot of teams like that. That's one thing the Big Ten did not give them this year. If there was an Auburn in the Big Ten or two, and maybe you don't win the Big Ten, but you've seen that a few times, and you have, you kind of know what it feels like. I talked to Jackson Kohler about facing Broom, their big man. I said, "When did you know he was a problem?" He said, "Pretty quick." And Kohler had a great game, but they're just one-on-one. That
I would have
Kohler
had
had no
him.
answer. Well,
Give him a hard foul.
You're
You're not going to come in here and just push around. Dude.
There's an argument that Xavier Booker and Nick Sanders and everybody had 6 fouls.
Yeah,
to give,
take
and
Nick
he's-
Sanders out there. Kick him in the chest. Money bag. Number 1, college sports are ass. 2, the timeout on the 17-0 run was 7 points too late. Besides that, there's not much to be upset about. And from Daniel P. Strong season for the Spartans, but a mistake by coaches not calling timeout during Auburn's first half 17-0 run. Brutal. Game over after that. And bonus from Daniel. Xavier Booker stays at MSU, improves his game, and goes all Big Ten next season.
I don't know if that's a bonus or a pure options baked. Yeah, it's more pure options. Yeah. But if pure options, if you want to dream of that Xavier Booker, pure options is here for you. Again, pureoptions.com. Some great March Madness bundles as well. You can download the app, have it right at your fingertips, or join the Pure Perks loyalty program so you have your Pure Options experience tailored just for you. To the point with Booker, again, I
think we're all rooting for that.
If Tre Holloman's going to leave, then I'm not going to be surprised if Xavier Booker stays. You know what I mean? I think the problem for Booker, we talk about the finances maybe for Holloman and what he's looking for and why he might have done this. Booker's a guy who's been really well compensated at MSU and has not performed that level of compensation. You can't keep doing that if you're MSU. And so, but that doesn't mean a guy it's not like they don't want him there, though. It's not like they don't I've had, several dozen one-on-one conversations with Xavier Booker over the last 2 years. Every one of them I've enjoyed. He's a nice kid. He's not, this isn't some jackass prima donna who's screw this. That's not who he is. And it doesn't mean I know him. I don't pretend to know all these guys personally well and who they are off the court, but you get a sense of people when you're talking to them one-on-one. It's one of the great things about MSU having open locker rooms and all this stuff. And so, Booker is a guy that maybe he thinks, I understand I'm not good. I need this. This is the place I want to develop. I understand how I need to get there, and I made okay money. If I want to get to a place where I'm making NBA money, because Booker, unlike a lot of these guys, unlike Tre Holloman, has the NBA build, right? Booker has skills that people will pay for. Now, I think they'll pay for it now, and I think that'll be the challenge too. I think that there will be somebody out there that will offer him more opportunity and more money than Michigan State can necessarily offer next year. But, if you're Booker, you should still be thinking long-term, because that's a guy, if he ever got that aggressive mindset, becomes an all-conference player. He just doesn't have it, and I don't know if he'll ever have it. I'm just saying that's all it takes. Some of these guys, Tre Holloman has the aggressive mindset. That is not the issue. Tre Holloman, needs to grow 5 inches if he wants to be a pro, and that's really hard to do.
I think that if I'm a player, I'm going to go, wait, I have to do how many one-on-one interviews with Graham Couch? Those pay you like $10,000 a piece, right? How long do I have to do them for? Does he stare at me all the time? Okay.
That's it. That's yeah.
Uper Carl, 15 one-on-one interviews? Man. I'm sorry, Book. Maybe we should change our mind about Book. Maybe that's what the problem.
Several dozen. I think I've done more
Several
than 15.
dozen?
Yeah, more than 15.
Well, now we know the problem.
Why
Book was all out of it all year.
Yeah,
Jesus.
he's just dazed. He's like, what is this guy?
Oh, my God. I got to autopilot through
what
this shit again. I got to be nice to him, because if I'm not nice, then you're going to do something,
Yeah, I talked to him the other day after the game. He was great in the locker room. Just chatted with him for a second. Just, yeah.
All right. Uper Carl, did Izzo address lack of a timeout in the 15-0 run? Team never recovered, and Holloman looked dazed going 0 for 5 and a bad turnover during that stretch. Neither recovered. Worse, Richardson was on the bench the entire time. At least use a timeout to get him back in.
That was a bad stretch when he was out. And there was one other stretch where Richardson, you could just tell, was just exhausted, and he tapped out. I mean, so, I think he wasn't playing well for a little bit. Like, he had a moment where something didn't go right. But, yeah, sometimes one thing I did not think they did that well in this tournament, and this goes back to the Big Ten tournament even as well. If you have somebody who you're looking to check in the game, and a lot of times it's been like Cohen Carr when he wasn't starting, right? And the games get, not going the way you want. Do not let 2 minutes run off the clock because the clock doesn't stop. You want that person in the game. Get them in the game. That is when it's worth. Now, you can't just use all your timeouts all the time on this stuff, but strategically taking a timeout to stop a run or to get a guy you think can change the game in the game makes a lot of sense, and that's something they need to think about.
C.E. Sakinga next. Number 1, when push comes to shove, Auburn was a little too good and a little too long. MSU gave up 3+ inches at guard and wing. They got them a little rattled and rushing just a touch. 2, recruiting guys like Ward and Scott, hybrid 3-4 types with ball skills, will help against this in the future. And bonus, a lot of griping that this chalky tournament is boring. I think if you're a hoops purist, this Final Four has a chance to be epic. Great teams, some different styles, pulling for Sampson, an auxiliary Spartan.
I think when you get to the Final Four, like this has a chance to be a great Final Four.
I would hope so.
Yeah, I mean, you got all 1 seeds, right? Yeah. No, it's no, there's no question about it. There are things that are lost in terms of the charm of the NCAA tournament, which I think are important to it. But ultimately, when you get chalked this late, I don't think anybody's complaining about that. What people want is they want an upset or two to get to the Sweet 16. Doesn't mean the 1 seed has to fall. It can be a 14 seed that takes down a 3 and gets 2 rounds. They just want a little less chalk early. But when you get this late, this is absolutely what you want. Let's take a really quick break. When we come back, we'll dig back more into your hot takes. Couch in the Rube, presented by Pure Options Craft Cannabis, and our Tuesday afternoon show, brought to you by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels.
Hey, sports fans, are you tired of the same old routine? Looking for a way to unwind after a long day? Look no further than Pure Options, the premier destination for all of your cannabis needs in Lansing, Detroit, Muskegon, and Mount Pleasant. Whether you're cheering for the Lions, Spartans, or the Wolverines, Pure Options has everything you need to elevate your game day experience. Mention Couch the Rube when you visit Pure Options and get a Pro Grow 8th with a $50 purchase. It's our way of saying thank you for being a loyal listener. Swing by Pure Options today and elevate your cannabis experience to a whole new level. Firekeeper's online casino and sportsbook is the site to play from your phone, tablet, or laptop. Get in on all the football action with pre- and in-game wagering. There's showdowns every week in football that you can't miss. Plus, the college and pro hoops are red hot, and the pucks are cool. Get your first casino deposit and sports wager matched up to $500 each. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Where else can you cheer on your team? Enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi. Sip on handcrafted cocktails or one of 46 beers on tap. Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with 1 awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a Muskox flannel and find out. Muskox has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes couch look good. Muskox is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch in the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. Muskox flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a Muskox flannel by ordering at GoMuskox.com, where Couch and the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite, Podcast Addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by Pure Options Craft Cannabis. Go to pureoptions.com and swing by any store to enter to win $1,000. The drawing is April 8th. Any store throughout Michigan, 3 in Lansing, Mount Pleasant, Muskegon, and also Detroit. And also our Tuesday afternoon show brought to you by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels. As spring arrives, it is flannel season. I know December, January, February feel like flannel season, but this is outdoor flannel season. This is one of the best times of people get to see you in your flannel in all its glory when you look your absolute best in a Muskox flannel. Again, go muskox.com, fix it in post for $15 off your flannel purchases.
All right, Jared, up next. If the COVID year isn't put in place, this MSU team wins the Natty. They were one of the youngest teams in the Elite Eight, and they weren't crazy young compared to seasons before 2020. And from C-Dubs 91. College basketball parity will come back as soon as COVID waivers are done and the oldest players on teams are 22, not 25. And from T-Bone's dad, all of Auburn's starters were aged 25 or 22 to 25. Jace was 11 when Baker Mazzara started college. As Couch rightfully says, sweat equity matters, and that was a huge component in their win. MSU gets a lot of what they're coming back next year. And from Gorham softball. I know the goal is to get old for college basketball, but is there a point when we won't see 25-year-old players on a team? There seriously can't be COVID years left. Auburn has grown men on its team.
So if you're a freshman in the COVID year, 2020-21, 22 would have been your sophomore year, or your second freshman year, 23, 24, 25. This should be it, right? This should be the final year. So it will help. And MSU is young. I mean, MSU is playing, and obviously Fiddler and Zappala were seniors, and Jay Nakins was a fourth-year senior. But they have a lot of younger guys, and it will matter. Now, how many of those guys are back? What the roster looks like? I think everybody's sort of on pins and needles. You know the guys I feel the worst for today?
Who's that?
The beat writers went over to an MSU football spring practice availability to do interviews. You know what nobody cares about right now? Spring football. And I understand there's only a couple weeks left in the spring, so you got to get it in and whatever, but it's just like, God.
Were they in the middle of interviewing someone and all of a sudden they all look down at their phone? They're like, oh, wait, I got to go.
I think it might have been like Jake Boss talking MSU baseball. And this.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's that is to be there would have been a story worth telling. Presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing. By the way, our sponsor, the Couch in the Rube Bracket Challenge. I'll get the latest standings up this afternoon. On those. We very much appreciate them, and they've been a great partner with us through live shows and just a great place to watch games, to go on a date night, trivia on Tuesday nights at Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing, and my favorite beer in the world there, the American Stout on tap at Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing.
And prizes provided by teacups.org for the March Madness contest.
Absolutely.
Teacups.org. Teacups.org.
That voice would be better on the weather alerts than the one we get. If we got like a really teacups.org.
Grab your ass. There's a tornado. Touch it down. Grab your ass.
Maybe get yourself to the basement.
Run for help if you're in a... Anyway. Sparty Barb. Next. Super proud of Izzo and the team. Looking forward to an amazing season next year. And bonus, the NCAA needs to put an age limit on college athletes. Abhorrent that grown men are allowed to play college basketball because they can't make it in the NBA. Get a job.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that the COVID year itself was, while well-intended, has had consequences that maybe didn't need to happen.
That was the only thing that made me laugh on the April Fool's front was Hunter Dickinson getting the seventh year.
Yeah.
And people fall. At 7:30 this morning, that was great. The rest of the April Fool's stuff, complete ass.
Agreed.
Yeah. C-Dubs 91, while the ending sucked, this team overachieved this year and set the tone for the future. And bonus, MSU fans need to ignore the baiting of Michigan fans.
I'm not talking about Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Try to, if you can do that. It is just...
I do it. It's easy.
Yeah. It's. I mean, you made an Elite Eight. You won the Big Ten title.
My friend's a Michigan fan. We don't talk about the games at all.
Yeah. You beat them twice. You won by the league by 3 games. You got a round further than them. You lost to the same team, but neither team was good enough to beat Florida. Auburn. I don't know what the smack talk is. And again, I don't believe in gatekeeping and fandom, but I do believe in gatekeeping in terms of talking smack. Like if you went to a school. Like you don't talk shit to Packers fans. You don't have Packers fans in your life you talk shit to, right?
No, but I would.
Okay, well you would.
Yeah, I got swag now as a Lions fan.
Right,
but I talk shit at Lambeau when we went last year, 2024. So,
but in pro sports, we generally don't sit there and go, fuck the Brewers. Like we're not
fuck
really
the Bears.
Well, there's that, and I guess there are occasional things. And
fuck the Vikings too. While we're at it,
clubs overseas, where you grow up in a town and you hate the town next to you, so you hate their club. I get that, and so I understand it a little bit if you went to a college because you feel ownership of that. You paid into it. You went there. You spent time. Those are formative years. But if you just chose to be a fan of something, and that's great too. You shouldn't be talking shit about somebody else because of your choice to be a fan. Like, this has nothing to do with you. You just chose to be a fan. Enjoy it. But it
depends on the shit talking, right? It depends. Yeah. If you're having a good time, you're talking a little shit here and there.
That's fine.
But if you're going out and you're trying to go right at someone and going for the jug, like, that's not fun stuff, right? Yeah. I mean, I think there's a separation of it that you can have in your life to where you can put those people that are just sycophants out of your life and still have fun with it.
And fandom should be fun, but it also to some degree is mental illness, right? Fandom is mental illness. And so understand that that's where it's coming from. If you're, everybody is a fan of anything. There's a little bit of, just think about the psychosis of that. Yeah.
I tell you, watching the Tigers every night. Peasy next. Time has made me realize it wasn't Duke I hated. It was Coach K. No. Rooting for Cooper Flagg to launch his legacy and take down all these grown men in San Antonio. And bonus, you will never catch me saying anything bad about Jaden Akins. So glad he got to go out a Big Ten champ.
Yeah, Akins is a guy who stuck around. I think those guys will be valued from now on. And I'll be, again, with Holloman, I will be very curious to see what happens. Holloman is not a guy, from what I understand, who is like one of their better, paid players over there, and he's got a chance now. And maybe this is all a negotiating tactic there. And but he makes a lot less, put it that way, than somebody who wasn't in the rotation at the end, right? And so if you're him and you have 1 year left to capitalize on who you are, then you might want to test this. And maybe you don't need to get – I'm not saying – I don't believe Tre Holloman – and frankly, I feel comfortable saying this. I don't believe Tre Holloman is a guy who's out there for the highest bidder. I believe he's out there for a good opportunity. But if there was a comparable bid at a place that he was already, I think he would do it. And I don't even know what his market value is. I don't know because he's not a star. He's a guy who gives you toughness, who can play multiple positions and switch, from one possession to the next to the 1 to the 2, which is really valuable. He can guard well. I mean, he's got a tremendous value, but he's not like when you talk about guys who are going to command the upper echelon, the guys who are stars. He's not that, and he knows that.
Jeff Kohler next. Number 1, Couch. You did a fantastic job covering the team this year. I bet I refreshed Twitter after a game more than most to read your takes. You really tied the ebb and flow of a fun season together. And 2, those locker room tears were exactly why this team was so unique and should be a fan favorite. That togetherness and continuity is rare in the college landscape nowadays. And 3, I DM'd you in mid-January after the Illinois game that I'd backstop the 3-ball bet. He was sitting at 5 for 20 at the time. If that 35% marker was not for the season in its totality, send me the bar tab, or better yet, I'll send you both a Muskox flannel. And 4, Jason, you're a badass. Well, thanks, Jeff. You're a badass too, my friend.
Well, the Muskox flannel's a hell of an offer. But he did. I believe he was over 37% on the year. I should double check that. But that's what I wrote. The thing. I mean, he was 11 for his last 19 threes. Jackson Kohler on the season, I believe. So, starting with that Illinois game, he had, he's shown that's there. Now, the question is, can you become a volume player if you're Kohler and really be somebody who that becomes a huge part of your game where you're a real threat out there? And obviously, the interior, the drop steps and the hooks and the fadeaway shots that he hit against Auburn that were so much a part of his game when he arrived, getting the confidence there and honing in on that, because if those two things come together offensively, and he's obviously an elite rebounder already, he becomes a really big-time game changer for MSU next year. And I think that's in him. And I do wonder, I brought up the Joey Hauser comparison, right? Like, Joey Hauser had that game, and Kohler had a more confident year than Hauser had most of the year before he had his big NCAA tournament breakout in 22. But Hauser had that 29-point game against Davidson, and it was like a weight off his shoulders. I remember interviewing him after that when he decided to come back. And from that point forward, he was a really confident player, and he had a great senior year. And a little different with Kohler in that he wasn't struggling the same way that Hauser was. But that game against that team on that stage, and the work he puts in the offseason, I mean, he's got a chance to have a big senior year.
Maybe next. With about 6 minutes left, MSU should have used Norman and Booker to hack a sub 60% free throw shooters that Auburn has. They had multiple to exploit. And from trouble with the slap, MSU beats Auburn if they foul Cardwell, 33% free throw shooter, and Broom, 59% free throw shooter, every single time they touch the ball.
Now that they lost the game, like, this isn't the horrible idea, the idea of just hack-a-shack sort of deal,
right?
You know?
I mean, come on, Cardwell. 33%.
Well, this is where strength in numbers really help you out, right? Like, Zapala has fouls to give. Booker has fouls to give. You know, you could throw Gehrig Normand in the game. Now, he hasn't played a lot, and you probably want to get him out before the next offensive possession. But you could really now the only issue with that is you wind up in the double bonus really quickly for everybody, and a team like Auburn with good athletes starts getting to the rim. And everything is 2 free throws. But, again, it's out-of-the-box thinking. I don't...
But when Broom went out for that stretch of time and they couldn't even cut the lead into that, I mean, that's when you knew. It's like, okay.
No, this is a really good take. And we'll make it the most entertaining take of the day, presented by Xfinity Xfinity and the Xfinity Mobile Theater. If there's any way you wish you could turn into a movie theater, be it on a commute, be it when you're listening to this shitty show, whatever it might be, in the grocery store, Xfinity engineers have built the Xfinity mobile network to have super fast speeds on the go, plus reliable 5G where you need it most. That means you can turn any place into a watch party and switch to the Xfinity mobile and get exclusive Wi-Fi speeds up to a gig on the go now at home, plus reliable 5G, and enjoy the Xfinity mobile theater. Let's keep going.
Maybe bake take. There should be a sad March Madness song, something like "Have Yourself a Merry Little March Madness."
So I do like this. My wife calls it March Sadness, so she's on board. But yeah, I like it.
Well, maybe her and maybe Dee can get a song together.
And yeah, we'll see what it is. Yeah, I would love it if you could sing something, maybe, and send that into us. We would love to. I'm gonna tell you right now, whatever you come up with will have a better tune than "Proud to Be an American." So we know that.
I'm sorry, what?
We know that.
From Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, well, there's pride in every...
All right, so just so you know, Xavier Booker, Justin Thind is now reporting is entering the transfer portal. So the conversation we just had about Booker, that's what's
just
going to happen.
The show now and get out of here?
Oh, it's funny because even with the analysis that I wrote today, my boss is like, "When should it go in print?" And I was like, "Well, not tomorrow. Let's let this stuff calm down. We'll figure it out." So Booker, it appears is headed to the portal, which is not surprising. And unlike Holloman, I would be much more surprised if he's back.
Ryan Schultz, next, number 1. During the weather alert interruption, I wanted to generate a meme of Ryan Day with the caption, "I'd like to know where Chris Eastlick is right now." And 2, Izzo got back to making a deeper tournament run before dying. If he wants to win a second natty before dying, he will need a roster of elite-level talent at all positions, akin to Auburn and Duke. Plain and simple.
Yeah, I mean, how much do you really have to add, though, right? I mean, they took you just need probably one more guy who brings it all together. Sometimes you get a guy like a Cohen Carr is a guy who makes them more athletic. He changes who they are entirely athletically. You need another guy like that. They have 2 freshmen coming in who over time I think provide more of that. You have if Jace Richardson's not coming back, and we don't know what he'll decide or what will happen when he goes through the process, but if he's not coming back, then it's a long slog to see how next year's team is better than this year's team, even though I think Jeremy Fears, Jackson Kohler, and Cohen Carr, those 3 guys really could take big steps, and they could be a very, very good team. But, Richardson's a special talent. But if he does come back, and those three take the steps, I think he can. They may not need as much as you think. They were in the Elite Eight. They lost by 6 on a game they didn't shoot, a team that didn't shoot well against a team that they hadn't faced. Those guys will understand what that level looks like. I don't know that they need as much more as.
But to get back to the Elite Eight, but to go further than that, they need more.
Well, they might need a player. They need guys to develop. I mean, if what you have is a Cohen Carr who can knock down an open three. And it takes put it this way, if Cohen Carr takes the steps he took between freshman and sophomore year to sophomore to junior year, that's a very different player. Jeremy Fears gets his first full offseason where, he wasn't even really full go last summer. Understanding what he needs to do. He adds a shot to his game and things like a
15-footer.
Yeah, floater in the lane, right. He made it a decent percentage of threes, but it wasn't volume stuff. They could be a pretty good team next year. They got a lot of stuff still going for them if they can keep this roster together, and we'll see what it looks like.
Ken Chu, great seasons by MSU hockey and men's and women's basketball. Hats off to all of them, and thanks for entertaining us. What a take, Ken Chu.
Yeah, the positive take.
Yeah.
He's probably at home right now typing about Tre Holloman going, we know Ken. Ken's a reasonable guy.
Richard Kane, single elimination hockey is close to worthless. It would be better if they just did a 20-round shootout. And bonus, bummer losing, but a great MSU basketball season. One of my favorite MSU teams, along with 85-86, 89-90, 08-09, and 18-19. And the national championship teams, of course. Baked. Jackson Kohler will make 90-plus threes next season. Well, there you go, Jeff. 90-plus threes for a Muskox flannel.
Yes. Next year, Muskox flannels, if not 90-plus threes.
I'll take the under. If he goes over, I'll buy Jeff Kohler a Muskox.
If he goes over, you will? Okay.
Over 90.
That's a nice deal, boy. And like we've said, a Muskox flannel is a gift. Like if father-in-law, person who's struggling with Tre Holloman entering the portal, whatever it might be, like it is like the nicest gift you can offer somebody is a Muskox flannel. Go Muskox.com. $15 off your Muskox flannel with the promo code Fix It in Post. To Richard's point here, and he's obviously been around a while if he's talking about enjoying the 85-86 teams and stuff. I do think this is one of the more enjoyable teams for a lot of people who've been around a long time.
Preston Zantello next. ESPN's obsession with Hockey East is ridiculous. Their announcing of East Coast schools is insufferable. Giving BU and Penn State the late game over Western and Denver feeds my hatred more.
Yeah, I mean, the whole setup, it just sucks. It sucks. It's just afterthought sport, and it's always going to be that way to some degree because somebody put it to me well that other people don't watch. Like, if your team's not in it, if you're not a big college hockey person, you're not watching, like they do the NCAA tournament in basketball. But if that's the case, then make it great for the fans who do care. Make it on campus sites. Make it best 2 out of 3. Make it a great tournament for those who do care. I think the Frozen Four is a cool event as is, but like there's just so much to do. And I don't get it. It's the stuff that I think it's run poorly enough that the people running it deserve to have how poorly they ran it first line of obituaries. It's that bad. Like that's where I'm at.
Drink. Kevin from Mars, baked. Final Fours are not as impressive as we make them out to be. To get to the Elite Eight, MSU needed 1 win versus a fringe top 25 team, and this tournament was the chalkiest chalk ever. Some years the path is even easier. The total amount of Final Fours is impressive, but not individual in a vacuum.
Well,
sure. All right, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I think they're pretty impressive.
I think, it's just how many had Michigan State been to before Izzo, right? The team in 89-90 that won a Big Ten title lost in the Sweet 16. It's a hard thing to do. It is about matchups. There is some luck involved, but you have to be really, really good. And I understand that their road to the Elite Eight wasn't filled with teams that were like at the very top, and Ole Miss was like a Ken Palm top 20-ish team in both offense and defensive metrics, but that was a really good Ole Miss team, and what they did was not an easy. I mean, New Mexico was a good team. That's who they earned to play as a 2 seed. I don't know. I mean, I understand they didn't beat anybody elite, but I think they were they got to the Elite Eight, which I think was about their level, and I think it's pretty impressive to get to a Final Four. I think it's hard to get to an Elite Eight.
Iman Sinner next. I don't know what is harder to watch. The Tigers blowing a 3-run lead against the Dodgers Fears throwing the ball out of bounds with 20 seconds left, or Graham without a muskox flannel? When did you have? I thought you had a muskox. I saw you with the flannel on.
No, yeah, I wore it even in Atlanta. Even on a 77-degree day, I wore a different shirt on the mile walk to the arena, and then got there and put on my muskox flannel.
What about the treadmill before the mile walk to the stadium?
Sweat right in a muskox. I mean, always a muskox.
I did yell.
flannel.
I go, hey, there's Couch, and T goes, what? How do you see it? I go, I saw the flannel.
Yeah,
he wears the blue one. Like, it's a great bit.
Yeah,
just keep wearing that one.
It helps people identify me, and I'm comfortable while others aren't. Yeah,
looks good. Rocco from Chicago, number 1, brutal draw for the Tigers to open at the Dodgers. It dampens the excitement from last season. 2, MSU hockey will continue to reload while the tournament is unpredictable. They will continually be in the hunt for a national championship. And 3, Graham, for your time spent around that team and Blashill, what does making the Frozen Four mean to Kalamazoo?
It was tough for the Tigers, by the way. I'm glad they got a win finally against the Mariners. Didn't continue being 0-4. That was a good win. Good at bats. And anyway, that's a good question because the Kalamazoo Gazette really doesn't cover them anymore. I mean, we used to cover the heck out of them. I think it would have been a big deal, and it might still be a big deal, but I'm not around it anymore. But it should be because that is the one sport that you can win a national championship in at Western, and that they've invested in it properly, and it started with Blashill back when I was still covering them.
Jebediah, bad shooting and not having a real center was the death blow to this MSU team again. Go figure. And bonus, Fiddler and Zapawa were great culture fits, but Tom has to get transfer guys that are either seamless transitions from a Power 5 school or have had a couple years left to develop in his system.
I mean, I do think he's going to have to, obviously, he might be losing Tre Holloman. He's going to have to use the portal even more, probably. But I still think ultimately developing in-house and recruiting in-house, like these 2 freshmen they got coming in, I think the idea is those guys become, guys who stay in your program. You want mostly guys to stay in your program and to supplement, and maybe you have to go out and get a big star if you don't have it, or you have a position where there's really, you can see the need. And I think part of the problem, part of the challenge too, is you got to find out quickly who's coming back, who isn't, so you know what that need is. And that's the hard thing right now, because if Jace Richardson tests the portal and decides to come back, you don't need that position like you did, right? Or test the NBA draft and decides to come back. It's a tricky situation in terms of the timing of it. I agree that there is another level they need to get to. I don't know how much outside help they need to get to that level depending on who comes back.
Chris Eastlick, number 1, I've never seen more in-and-out three-pointers than I have this year. These guys aren't bad shooters, and it's just been weird seeing so many open looks not go down this year. I can't even come up with an explanation other than luck. Regardless, this was such a fun year. Thanks to the Spartans for a great run. You want a Final Four so badly for that group. And bonus, I'm sure there will be weather talk. I'll let this show play out before having an opinion. Rest in peace to Graham's mentions because of people yelling at me.
There may have been a few more weather points still coming up in the takes that we're not going to get to.
Why are we yelling at Chris Eastlick though?
No, Chris.
During these things, he's just trying to do his gig.
Chris, we would just love to. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and Chris is right. He's doing his job, and yeah, they take so much abuse. I feel. If
you want to abuse somebody, call into the station and make your complaint.
And if you do actually accidentally abuse a weather person, send them a muskox flannel. That is the way to go, or hook them up with some pure options. Make them feel loved in your life, whatever it might be. And just remember, as you're watching your Xfinity TV, it is not their fault that they had to cut in. This is a service to the public. We are going to have to cut it there. We've got a hard out today, and I'd love to get to the rest of these, and maybe we will on a show Wednesday, or we got to figure out the rest of the week here. The Tre Holloman news kind of changed our course a little bit. We appreciate you listening, and we appreciate you helping to produce our show. Thanks, of course, to Pure Options Craft Cannabis. Go to pureoptions.com. Download the app today. Take advantage of the March Madness giveaway, up to $1,000 in store. We appreciate Muskox Flannels. Enjoy their swimwear line, which we tweeted out about, or just get yourself a Muskox flannel at gomuskox.com. We appreciate Xfinity Comcast. Enjoy, like I'm telling you, if you've cut the cord, give them another shot. I'm telling you, the experience, the bundle experience that they provide and all the things they have, really, really well done. We appreciate Midtown Brewing Company. We'll talk to you soon. Couch in the Roof. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.